News overnight, the man accused of killing rapper TakeOff bonded out of jail. Attorney had said repeatedly he could not make this bail.
This is insane. It's been over 2 months since the death of rapper TakeOff, and a lot of crazy things have happened since the rapper was unalive in an after dice game argument that spun out of control that he wasn't even a part of. Now, the Houston Police Department is saying that Patrick Xavier Clark, a popular Houston DJ, was the one that took the life of TakeOff in a spontaneous shootout that erupted when things went left. They arrested him, charged the man, and somehow he just walked out of jail, and people have a lot of questions. Mainly, how did the man who was trying to get his bond lowered from $2 million, real American currency, to $300,000 because he has no assets and couldn't afford the amount? How did that guy just pay $1 million bond?
What we learned in court is that he worked as a promoter for clubs with exotic dancers, has lived at home with his parents on and off since high school, does not have a car, and his father estimated that his income is between $30,000 and $40,000 a year.
Especially when police made the case that he tried to leave the country.
And he was accused of having plans to leave the country.
Now, I'm not saying it sounds suspicious. I'm just saying that it does add a little fuel to the conspiracy theory fires. And there's been a lot of them. But that's not the craziest part, because Patrick Clark, or DJ Pat, is apparently planning on claiming self-defense in the murder of TakeOff, at least according to his lawyer.
But his attorney says he did not know he was the prime suspect in the case. The defense says they've received significant amounts of evidence to prove Clark acted in self-defense.
He will have a valid and meritorious claim for self-defense.
But how did the man who allegedly gunned down TakeOff in cold blood just got out of jail? And is this self-defense plea gonna work? But we're gonna get into all of that and more, plus what the streets got to say, because the comments are crazy. First, I am Joe Stone. This is the Church of Joe Stone podcast. Where cool comes to pray, you come to stay, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another video coming your way, where we find the most shocking and provocative news and take it to church. This case has some twists. Now, if you remember, back in early December, Houston Police Chief Troy Finner held a conference 1 month after the shooting where he reported the arrest of 2 men related to the murder of TakeOff. One was 22-year-old rapper Cameron Joshua, and the other was a 33-year-old suspect, Patrick Xavier Clark.
His attorneys asked for a new hearing next week to get that bond amount lowered to protect his constitutional rights. In probable cause court Friday, it was revealed that Clark was allegedly caught shooting his gun on camera while holding a wine bottle.
Now, it quickly came out that the first suspect was just arrested for having a gun on the premises, and that Patrick Clark was the man that the police were setting their sights on. Now, quickly, the media dug up the fact that Patrick Xavier Clark had taken a life before in self-defense. He got into a shootout at an angry patron of a club, 5608, that he was working at, went to his car, came back, tried to shoot up the club, and Patrick and another person fired back and ended up killing that person. Now, Patrick cooperated with the police, and that shooting was ruled self-defense, and he didn't do any jail time. Fast forward to now, it looks like he's going to try the self-defense plea again, and is currently out of jail, even though when Patrick went into court for the TakeOff case, he was accused of attempting to flee the country as an application for an expedited flight to Mexico came up. On top of that, Patrick was found to be in possession of a large sum of money at the time of his arrest. But the defense attorney on the case, and if I ever get locked up, call this woman because she is good. But his defense attorney, Leticia Quinans, clarified that the application had been applied for prior to TakeOff's death, and that her client had no plans on going anywhere.
It was something that was already pre-planned, and it was counseled before he was arrested. So I think that's important. He wasn't trying to go anywhere.
Now, that did make the police look a little silly, especially because the large sum of money that they found on him doesn't seem to be that large. I think it was a few $100s or a couple thousand, but not like the guy had like $1 million on him. But police claimed that from video surveillance footage and fingerprint ID from a wine bottle left at the scene that DJ Pat was holding, they were able to piece together the crime scene and figure out that he was the one that shot. And with this being a murder case, of course, the bond was pretty high, $2 million. Now, Patrick's attorney came back and said that he could absolutely not afford this. He is not a rich man. He lives on and off with his parents. He doesn't have a lot of money. He DJs here and there. There's no way he could pay $1 million bond. So the judge lowered it to $1 million. She tried to get it lowered again to $300,000. That didn't work. But suddenly, out of nowhere, somehow Patrick comes up with the ability to pay this $1 million bond, and he walks out of jail, which has people asking some questions. Now, where did this money come from? Maybe we'll find that out in the future, but right now we don't have any information. But I want to talk about the self-defense plea because I know that is something important that people want to know about. Well, I am not a police officer or a lawyer, but I am a firearm instructor and I study and teach firearm law. And with that being said, from all my studies and what I've been taught, you are responsible for every bullet that leaves that gun. If you are in a shootout and you happen to shoot the wrong person or the wrong person gets hit, you are still technically liable for the damage that you did to that person. It does not matter if you were trying to defend your life in the middle of it. Under most circumstances, you're still gonna go to jail. Now, of course, that is up to the DA and a grand jury, but I'm trying to figure out how the self-defense plea works in this situation when TakeOff was unarmed, didn't have any gun on him, wasn't arguing, wasn't even a part of any of this, and happened to be in the line of fire and then had his life taken. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how Patrick's lawyer thinks this is gonna work when TakeOff wasn't the man that Patrick was defending his life from. Now, we'll have to see how this all plays out. Will the charge get changed to manslaughter? Will it get reduced? And if he does accept some type of plea deal with minimal time or no time, or gets off scot-free, how are the streets, and more importantly, TakeOff's family and friends, going to take that? I'm guessing not well. But look, the streets aren't taking it well either. And we're gonna dive straight into the comments and see what they got to say. Can we talk about where he got the money to do this in the first place? Man's whole team wanted the $2 million bond reduced, then the $1 million reduced to $300K. What the F? I mean, I'm just saying. N-word didn't pay $1 million bond. That's not how bail works. It's only 10% of bail. Yes, but that's not how it works when you get to those higher bonds. They want more than just 10%. Under most circumstances. So I'm curious to see how that worked out. It's not like it's just straight 10%. It varies a whole lot when you start getting to those higher numbers. It can be 20, 30, 40%. The real question is, why do you have a bond on a murder charge? It is people with nonviolent charges in jail with no bonds. Make it make sense. Hey, that's not an unvalid point of view. I'm just saying. They bailed him out. He about to get knocked off. Case closed. Like I said, the conspiracy theory fires are roaring, but nothing would surprise me. He had to pay at least $250,000 to make bail. My question is, who paid it for him? I can almost promise you whoever did it is either already dead or is being covered up by someone in a higher position. And from the beginning, people have wondered if Patrick was set up, if he is actually the person that did the shooting, or if he's taking the fall for somewhere else, or if someone else is backing him. Now again, these are wild speculations that are more than kind of unfounded, so we don't take that route or we don't take those sides. But just saying, that's what the streets are saying. And last but not least, it was a hit. It was definitely a hit. Y'all know what the industry is. But that's our story for today. Thank you for tuning in and let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think he's innocent? Do you think he's guilty? Do you think he deserved the bond? Do you think he shouldn't have one? Do you think TakeOff will get justice? Let us know in the comments. I am Joe Stone and this is the Church of Joe Stone podcast. Where cool comes to pray, you come to stay and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another video coming your way where we find the most shocking and provocative news and take it to church. I'll see you in the next one.